Donald Trump has once again thrust himself into the center of international tensions, this time by lashing out at Chinese President Xi Jinping, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and North Korean leader Kim Jong Un. His remarks made on his Truth Social platform accuse the three of conspiring against the United States. The statement came as Xi hosted one of China's most elaborate military parades in Beijing, an event attended by more than 24 world leaders. Trump's outburst underscored a growing perception that the United States, once seen as the anchor of global stability, is increasingly sidelined under his leadership. By framing the meeting as a direct affront to American power, Trump revealed more about Washington's waning influence than about any actual conspiracy.
Well, I've already done that with regard to India, and we're doing it with regard to other things. And I put out a truth last night. You saw that. And I was the one that brought it up. I said, they're only doing this. They're looking to, when they did what they did, I thought it was a beautiful ceremony. I thought it was very, very impressive. But I understood the reason they were doing it, and they were hoping I was watching, and I was watching. My relationship with all of them is very good. We're going to find out how good it is over the next week or two.
The spectacle in Beijing was officially billed as a commemoration of the 80th anniversary of Japan's surrender in World War II. But the symbolism went far beyond history. Xi was flanked by Putin and Kim throughout the event, reinforcing the message that Beijing is now a hub for leaders ostracized by the West. The choreography was deliberate, an Eastern alliance stepping onto the world stage, signaling a challenge to a US-led order. For Trump, the optics were difficult to ignore. His social media posts, mixing sarcasm with grievance, suggested both frustration and envy at being left out of a global moment of senior dictators. Please give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong Un as you conspire against the United States of America, he wrote. Yet rather than project confidence, the remarks reinforce the view that the US president is more reactive than strategic, allowing adversaries to dictate the narrative. China, meanwhile, has capitalized on Trump's unpredictability. His trade war, marked by sweeping tariffs on Chinese goods, destabilized global markets and alienated allies who rely on open commerce. Beijing responded not only with countermeasures, but with long-term investments in industries like shipbuilding. The results are striking. This year, Chinese shipyards secured over 60% of global orders, dwarfing US capacity. Analysts note that China's shipbuilding output is nearly 200 times that of America's, an extraordinary gap that extends to naval power. The Chinese Navy now boasts 234 warships, surpassing the US fleet of 219. Trump insists that his tariffs protect American workers, but the strategic cost is undeniable. While Washington fights trade skirmishes, the tariffs of which have been found to be illegal, Beijing uses its economic clout to court partners from Moscow to Pyongyang to New Delhi. Xi's meeting with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi during the same week signalled a thaw in historically tense relations, partly spurred by Trump's steep levies on Indian imports. In attempting to punish competitors, Trump has inadvertently pushed them closer together. Russia has also benefited from the shifting landscape. Addressing journalists in Beijing, Putin emphasized that Moscow would press forward in Ukraine unless Kiev and its Western backers accepted his terms. He praised Trump's sincere desire to find a resolution, even as he dismissed the US president's recent expressions of disappointment over Russian aggression. The dynamic highlighted a troubling pattern. Trump appears eager for recognition from authoritarian leaders who openly defy international norms while offering little reassurance to America's allies. Indeed, the deadline for sanctions on Russia has been and gone. Trump has done nothing about it. The optics in Beijing were particularly stark. Xi, Putin and Kim ascended the Gate of Heavenly Peace overlooking Tiananmen Square, a tableau that symbolized the consolidation of power among America's chief rivals. For Xi, it was a carefully staged show of strength meant to demonstrate not only China's growing military might, complete with hypersonic missiles, laser weapons, and advanced drones, but also its ability to shape the global conversation. For Putin and Kim, standing beside Xi granted legitimacy they could not secure alone. Trump's reaction, in contrast, came across as petulant. His invocation of World War II sacrifices, falsely claimed of the massive amount of support and blood the United States gave China during the conflict, read less as a solemn reflection than a demand for gratitude for an historical event that didn't happen. While he sought to tether America's past heroism to the present moment, the parade itself made clear that China has moved on, recasting itself as a great power in its own right. The irony is that Trump's policies have accelerated this shift by alienating allies, undermining institutions like NATO, and treating foreign policy as a series of personal feuds. He has weakened the very networks that once amplified American influence.
I think that we helped China very much, as you know, when they talk about freedom. And I don't believe that, and maybe I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't believe that America, that the United States was acknowledged for helping China to gain its freedom. But perhaps that was just that was a sleight of hand. I mean, I was very surprised. I watched the speech last night. President Xi's a friend of mine, but I thought that the United States should have been mentioned last night during that speech because we helped China.
Meanwhile, China positions itself as the leader of a new coalition, offering partnership to those isolated by Western sanctions. Even North Korea, long dependent on Beijing's aid, finds renewed leverage in the evolving triangle of Xi, Putin, and Kim. What was meant to be a celebration of China's wartime endurance became, in effect, a coronation for Xi Jinping as a global statesman. He declared that the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation is unstoppable, a line delivered against a backdrop of goose-stepping soldiers and rumbling tanks. The message was unmistakable. China is not merely commemorating history, it is claiming the future. For much of the post-war era, such a challenge would have been met by a confident American president, rallying allies and projecting stability. Under Trump, however, the response was reduced to an angry social media post. His critics argue that this encapsulates the erosion of US leadership, bluster in place of strategy, grievance instead of vision. As the world watched Beijing's display, the question was not whether Xi, Putin, and Kim are truly conspiring against America. It was whether the United States, under Trump's erratic stewardship, is ceding the very ground on which global leadership is built. If today's parade offered a glimpse of a new world order, it was one shaped less by the strength of America's rivals than the vacuum left by Trump himself. I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.